All right.
Welcome, everybody, to Why Are You an Entrepreneur, our weekly Thursday series. I'm Maureen Edwards. I'm the founder of 8 Simple Steps. And as I say to you every single week, I bring you rock star entrepreneurs and have a rock star conversation. And somebody asked me, why do you introduce them the same way every single week? And I will tell you right now, anybody who has ventured into entrepreneurship and starting their own business has amazing courage, amazing resilience, and an unbelievable work ethic to make this successful. So if you're a small business owner right out there, you know what I'm talking about. And every one of you is a rock star. And that's why we do this weekly series, so we can introduce you to them and about their journey. And they can share some best practices, some inspiration, and words of wisdom. So tonight, no exception, I have Mitch Case, who is the founder of More Than a Meal. Isn't that a little bit of an intriguing name? And so I want to welcome you, Mitch. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Maureen. I'm really excited to have me on here. I'm excited to chat about the ups and the downs.
Well, you and I both know there are many of those, but there are ways to overcome it. And the first question I have with all of my small business owners who join me, and I ask them, why are you an entrepreneur? Why venture into this? Can you share the reasons?
Yeah, I did not know that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I would say even less than 5 years ago. I grew up in a very conservative home where, it was very traditional of, go get a college degree, go get a good paying salary, benefits, health insurance, all that kind of stuff, and just make a good living and you'll get to retire at, the typical age. So I went after a mechanical engineering degree. I fought for every C I got when I went after that degree.
Yeah, that's a hard degree.
I definitely had a little bit of social life during that degree as well. So sometimes that can get the best of you. But what I learned was that I liked the idea of being an engineer. I didn't like being an engineer. I love the creation side of what engineers get to do, but the day-to-day activities of that is what I learned after I graduated, sitting down in front of a computer all day, every day, doing design type work was just not a good fit for me. So I did that for about 10 months. And then I fell into an organization that actually sold the piece of equipment that I was working at that manufacturing plant. And when I went to work for them, I went into sales, which was a very commission-based opportunity. And that is when that entrepreneurial drive and spirit started becoming very evident to me, that I became very self-motivated. You talked about like courageous and getting creative with different ideas to differentiate yourself, and just the hard work and expectations and believing in yourself that you can go out and make that happen. That's really what sparked that entrepreneurial drive. So probably 5 years ago, while I was still in that company, I really got into like personal development, business books, all of these different ideas. And at that point, I had been bitten by that bug. And it was just a matter of time before I found what was going to be that one thing that I believed in was a good service or product. And then finding a way that I could be in the lead to go out and execute what needed to be done to make that a viable business. So yeah, that's my journey to entrepreneurship.
Okay. So I haven't met too many engineers that can make really good salespeople. Okay. They make really good engineers, but it's the transition right there is impressive. But I have to say, what was the one thing that made you take the leap to something like we talked about how there's a lot of security in what you were doing before? So why would you give that up?
There was, I ended up leaving that job when when we were in the midst of the pandemic. So a lot of what allowed me to be comfortable with that, although I would say it was not a comfortable decision, was the realization. I mean, everybody got hit with that. Like, all right, what's most important in life right now? Like we all came centered around that, and myself included. And when we were going through that, we'd kind of been talking about, what would it look like if I jumped out and did a business and all this kind of stuff. And I remember my wife asking me a question: if you look back in 20 years and you haven't made this decision, would you regret it? And it was just too easy of an answer for me to like, it was a very blatant yes. I would regret if I look back in 20 years and said, man, I wish I would have done that, versus I would be okay with saying, I tried that and I hit the
Right.
ground and it did not work. I can at least look back and say that I gave it a shot. And I did not want that aspect of my life being, I wish I would have
Right.
type of conversation. So, along with a lot of thought out game plans, we're people of faith as well. So, a lot of prayer went into this decision of, look, we can go out and we can do this. We have been blessed from a financial position for a while to go out and see if we can make this happen. And ultimately, it just came down to ultimately believing in myself, my wife
Yeah.
telling me of how much value I do have, and ultimately believing that in myself to just pull the trigger and go after it.
All right, I love this. So all my small business owners out there, do you hear what Mitch just said? You have to take a calculated risk, but in order to do that, you really do have to believe in yourself. You have to have the confidence. And I always say regret is so much worse than fear.
Mm.
Just overcome the fear, because fear is only temporary. Regret is forever. So I think, kudos to you for seeing that. So tell me about the business that you ultimately felt was where you should go. What is this that you're doing?
Yeah, it started as just a side hobby. So while I was still doing the engineering side, through my wife and I's experience with our firstborn son, which she developed preeclampsia and had a C-section, which was a more challenging life event for us.
Hmm.
It was, a lot of people get the meals right up front, and we're very, very thankful and helpful for those like immediate needs. But it was a meal that was brought to us 3 months down the road that was really impactful for us, from
Hmm.
me being back at work, sleep deprivation in full swing, my wife's still recovering, and then just in general as a first-time parent, questioning every single thing you do to see if you're actually ruining your child's life or if you're actually helping your child. So all of that combined made that meal just over the top impactful, to the point where my wife told me that she had really felt like she helped out that day when she simply threw that meal into a crock pot. And what
Yeah.
I thought was a purchased meal kit was actually friends just finding a recipe on Pinterest and chopping it up and putting it in. And we had been looking for this way that we could use the gifts that we've been given to go and serve our community well. And we thought that this was a really good opportunity to just make a small impact, utilizing my systems and processes brain of being an engineer, and my wife traditionally being a nurse, which is just a very nurturing, loving
Right.
individual. We were able to combine those two pieces of our puzzle to create what was at the time called mommy meals, where we essentially just simply providing a very simple slow cooker or pressure cooker meal to the doorstep of somebody that had recently had a baby and maybe had been hit above and beyond type of scenario. We started with that whole idea of this B2C model, and we did like 300 meals, no marketing or anything along those lines. It wasn't like, I'm going to go quit my job, this is working out so
Right.
wonderfully.
Right.
um, but what was really unique, and when it did make the switch to a business case, was when the pandemic hit. We looked at who was buying and why they were buying, and we found that over 70 to 75% of our orders were coming from businesses buying for their employees and clients to not only engage with them while newborn babies were coming, but bereavement, illness, injury recovery, FMLA, all these different scenarios where organizations were desperately looking for ways to engage with their employees and clients in a way that they knew that it was not an afterthought. It was a very proactive gesture of, we truly care about you as an individual, and now we want to invest in you and your family. And that is when, like, all right, we got to put a business case together. We're going to switch from mommy meals to more than a meal. And we knew that we needed to expand our capabilities of delivery, as organizations were centrally located in Kansas City, where we're out of, but they have remote offices in Omaha or Wichita. So we needed to get outside of the metro. And that's when the light bulbs, that's when the big brain and the entrepreneurship like really came together of like, how can we make this happen to where we can talk to one individual and impact 100? So that B2B play came right in. And once we started seeing a little bit of traction, that's when the ideas of, what if I
Mhm.
left the engineering side and put all of my time and effort into this, and what would that do? And during that time, I was sensing some burnout from that, from my previous employer. And I was missing a lot of time with my wife and my kids based off of the strenuous hours that I put on myself. I was 100% commission. It wasn't their fault. I wanted to take the money, and it was my fault for doing that. But it slowed me down to where I can now make a decision of the hours that I am working and be impactful in those while still being a more present husband and father.
All right. There's so much for me to unpack here, because let me go back to the fact that, one, you kept your day job to allow yourself to literally build a business on the side that you could test the waters, you could make some mistakes, you could overcome the fear, you could just work out like the processes and the kinks. And that's what I say to people, is that if you are not ready to take the full dive into it, go slow and work it out. So right there, and I don't call things side hustles anymore. If you notice, this was not a side hustle. I've got to come up with a new word for that, because this
I do like that.
Yeah, this is not just, I'm going to freelance for some extra money for a vacation. This is actually building a future with, a timeline and, a real plan, a strategy behind it, so that you can control your destiny. And so please, somebody help me find out a name for this.
I'll be thinking of some as well, because nothing's coming to mind right
now. No. So I maybe destiny planning. You're doing a destiny plan. I don't know. So a destiny hustle. I don't know. I'm going to figure it out. But I absolutely love that you did that. And then you saw opportunity. That's the thing. Entrepreneurship is seeing opportunity, seeing a gap in the marketplace, and seizing it. And then the third thing that I'm loving is the fact that you were able to pivot when you saw another opportunity and said, you know what? I think that this could be bigger if we go with this target audience. We didn't expect it, but if we don't go for it, who knows what the trajectory of your company would have been, right?
Absolutely.
Totally different.
Absolutely.
So tell me, what do you think has been the biggest challenge going from having, the company and having the set hours or whatever to actually being your own boss? What have you found to be most challenging with this?
Yeah, I mean, the one that just comes straight to mind is like, it never stops. You don't stop thinking about it. Yeah. And it's not necessarily always a bad thing, because I truly enjoy what I am doing. And although it is work, a mentor once told me, if you find what you love doing, if you find what you are good at and you enjoy what you are doing, you're never going to have you'll have those days where you just do not love what you're doing in that moment. But because you're doing something you are good at and you enjoy, you will have a lot more fun doing those work, that the bad days, when they do come, you'll be able to endure those. So it always really helped me understand, I am doing something that truly brings me joy, while I am actually not in a boastful way, but I am good at what we are doing. Yeah. And it allows me to endure those tough days, those tough nights, those tough days, all the no's that you get while you're searching for that yes. It allows me to stay focused on what the end goal is and not get derailed or discouraged from that. So never shutting my brain off around the business is maybe a challenging point.
Right.
If I were to go outside of that, which every entrepreneur is experiencing that, it's really going to be focused around finances. I am a conservative person at heart. And so unlearning a lot of these things I want to hold on to the cash that I have, but knowing that I have to reinvest that into our business to grow it. And so if I'm sitting there holding on to all of this, we're not doing our business justice. We're not doing the people we haven't, that need to be served from us, that haven't been served by us, justice. So overcoming my learning from my past and kind of breaking that down and understanding what is the best path for us to go, and realizing that not everything that I learned before is the best thing for us today has been challenging for me to overcome, because I do want to just hold on to the cash that we do have and not redeploy it to where I can go and generate more revenue for our company and serve more people with that.
Well, I think that's a really good lesson for people out there, is that you do have to spend money to make money to grow your company. And so you've got to decide what you want. You know, some people are just fine with keeping things small and contained, and then other people have a bigger vision. And that's, you know, that's a decision that you've made, which I think is just admirable. But I'm just loving the concept that you have here. And I have to ask you, you know, when you decided to go into the market, did you find competitors who were doing this as well, either local or national or regional? Or is this something that is unique to you? And if you're successful, you know, the competitors are going to come, right?
I like to think the latter of what you said is that there's not a lot, but I would also say there's a misconception on who my competitors may actually be. So I get a lot of, you're competing with HelloFresh and Blue Apron and a lot of the other meal kit services that are out there. In a very real sense, if we're talking food to a doorstep, absolutely.
Yeah.
But in what we are finding ourselves competing with is actually organizations and the resources that they use to engage with retention and attraction of talent is oftentimes like flowers and gift cards and other, you know, maybe it's cookies or something along those lines. It's not the boxes that you're receiving on your doorstep. It's really the things that they're trying to come up with. So I have found one company and they're doing it very well. Spoonful of Comfort. I comfort, like, I am in the abundance mentality in the sense that there is more than enough to go around for other people in this same space. And if I can see that they are successful in this space, then I know that we can be successful in this space, whether or not we're competing against each other or not. So I want to say that first, but they are doing a really good job from the consumer side of things on hitting those family members that they want to send a meal to. The uniqueness of More Than a Meal is my goal is to make sure that I'm hitting on our product that really speaks to the experience and the gathering of a family around the dinner table, where an employer or a sales professional can be the one that provided that experience. Some of the best experiences that I have had that other people have given to me, you know, I'm a diehard Chiefs fan. I got my Chiefs shirt on here. It was just recently I got gifted tickets to a Chiefs game, and my son, who is 5 years old, has been wanting to go to a Chiefs game for a while, but because of the decisions we've made, our budget does not allow for us to go to a Chiefs game right now. They did not want to tag along. They said, hey, we know that you've made life decisions. We want to provide these 2 tickets so that you can go and experience that with your son. And I'm forever going to remember that game with my son for the rest of my life. And this person that gave me that experience is somebody that I will always be in their corner for whatever reason. And I think that is what we are trying to accomplish on a smaller scale, is be the person that provides that experience. Don't tag along. Don't necessarily show up on the doorstep in this scenario of food. But if you can provide the experience of something where we are rushing around at trying to fit in, like, we're probably having conversations of figuring out how can we eat faster so we can keep up with this fast-paced life versus what I want to accomplish is let's slow down and have those moments with our family. And if you can be an employer that invests in your employees' family to cherish that time and promote that time, I think you can create a very big impact that can help with retention. And not only that, but attracting new talent that really wants to find that culture that they're a good fit with. And that's where I think we really differentiate ourselves from our competition that's out there.
And now I'm realizing what More Than a Meal, like the name, means. It's not necessarily the food, it's the concept.
Yep.
Of that's what you're talking about. And
yes,
an experience is much more lasting than what you've eaten and then you run, right?
Yep.
So I think that's an amazing concept. And I just want to welcome Ajo. How are you? She says hello from Atlanta. I'm so glad you're tuning in and sent us a comment. And I'm with Mitch from More Than a Meal. And we are just talking about a lot of things that, you know, are just so important in entrepreneurship, because it's beyond the product. It's actually getting into the emotion, because that's what you remember in your head. I always say to people, your biggest value prop is, how do you change people's lives? That's the first question I ask an entrepreneur. Don't tell me the features. Like, you could be telling me right now, you've got pure ingredients and we got keto friendly stuff and we do organic. I don't care.
Yep.
I want to know, how do you change people's lives? And this is why you're doing great. and you're going to continue doing great, Mitch. So I'm
I appreciate
totally
that.
loving this. So, all right, I want to talk a little bit about how you're reaching your customers. Is there a
Yeah.
certain marketing strategy you're using? Are there certain platforms out there that you're having the greatest success that you could share with other entrepreneurs who may find success with them as well?
Yeah. I mean, the biggest reason that we switched from B2C to B2B is that I knew that now I can have one relationship that can impact 100 people versus 100 relationships and impact 100 relationships. So it was
Right.
kind of that economies of scale that really helped us figure out, all right, this is going to be an easier, I say easier, less expensive route for us from a cost of acquisition standpoint. The way that we met was through a common friendship that I met through LinkedIn. And I have to imagine that you probably met her through LinkedIn as well. I could be wrong. Is that fair?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay.
I met Caroline. Caroline and I were in a similar coaching program. We
Oh,
both,
okay.
coaches or mentors should always have coaches and mentors who they are receiving. They can only make us better. So
Yes.
we actually connected through that. And
Oh,
I
okay.
just
I
think
didn't realize that.
yeah. And what's interesting is that she has an extensive pharma biotech background. So do I. That's where I
Oh, no
came
way. Okay.
from. We actually overlapped and I knew exactly what she was doing. And it's like we were working the same plan at the same
Oh, man.
time. And so we really had a connection. And I think she's truly an amazing person. I love the fact that she left that industry because she is exactly where she is now,
Yes.
able to impact the masses with what her messages, and I think
Yeah.
it's really something. So no, but I
Okay.
do believe LinkedIn is my absolute favorite platform, as well as Clubhouse. So I'm wondering, is LinkedIn your best connection for this?
LinkedIn is by far our best lead generation avenue. And I don't necessarily use our company page. I use my own personal page, which is build
Yeah,
a personal brand. And I will continue to use that through and through. Is that when people see my profile, I want them to feel good about who I am, and like that message being continuous throughout, whether it's posting or what they see on my profile. And I get really good feedback in the sense that when I get to talk to people, that they are excited to hear more about what we are doing versus I know we all are in this point in LinkedIn now where it's getting oversaturated and you just get a spam email over and over and over again. I
yeah,
will also say some of the best relationships that I have formed through LinkedIn has been kind of weeding out through a few of those, which I can tell they at least gave a little bit of effort. So through LinkedIn and the strategy that we have used is it is truly a relationship platform. And if you treat it as such, you will find genuine people that want to have relationships with you and help you and grow in your business or their business. So, our huge strategy is specifically being around real, authentic, and personalized through our own brand. I post a lot of stuff about the challenges of entrepreneurship and being a father and a
yeah.
husband. And it relates to a lot of people. And I kind of double down on that and own it. And, it's allowed me to have a lot of people come to my profile. And then I get to reach out to them and just say, hey, thank you for coming across my profile. If you thought there was something in here that was interest, I'd be up for a 20-minute phone call if you just want to jump on an intro call. Only 20 or 30% of them are going to say yes, but of those 20
Right.
or 30%, we have a pretty good success rate. And, our business isn't a product where people are like, I don't like it, or I'm not interested. They're always like, oh man, that's so great. That's
It's
really interesting.
intriguing. Yes, it is. It's intriguing, and people, but one thing that you mentioned that's super important is authenticity and saying
Yes.
there's good and there's bad. And I talk about that all the time, which is why I bring this to people, because these are real life people doing, having a similar journey to what's going out there
Yeah.
with others. And I just think it's really important. If you're going to make a difference, you've got to share what the backstory is here, and why you're doing it. And it's not easy. And I think anytime you stay true to yourself, and LinkedIn, I find to be the least, what's the word? There's no like as much judgment or bullying, or everybody does keep it very professional, which is
Yep.
why, and they really do like pure content. And it actually is one of the biggest converters out there. So out of all the platforms,
Yep.
people are on there, they definitely acquire, they build a partnership. So I could definitely see. So for people out there, I would really encourage you to explore LinkedIn if it is right for your business. It's really strong for B2B. But the one thing I've discovered, Mitch, is a lot of people do not utilize LinkedIn or see it as the type of partnership building and conversion platform that we do. They still think it's for finding a job, which it is, which is part of networking. But we're here to share services or products that could change your life, if we do it the right way.
Yeah. A good friend of mine here in Kansas City has like a LinkedIn audit that she will put pages through, because the whole goal of LinkedIn is to attract individuals to your page and see if there's common interest. It doesn't mean you have to sit and have a meeting by any means, but you're absolutely right. And I've talked a lot in regards to, I'm a big believer. What I've actually developed this thing that's called a customer relationship experience, where I believe that you can increase revenue, retentions, and referrals by focusing more on your existing clients than people you haven't even met yet.
All right.
So
thank you. All right. That's it. All right. Bam, boom. We can end. Did everybody hear what Mitch just said? In fact, it is a proven fact that if you just ask them to buy one more meal or one more product or add a service, you could literally double your revenue by just focusing on 10% of your existing customers. Those are actual facts. So, but you know what's interesting is people spend 98% of their budget and their time, their resources on prospecting, and not take care of the people who raised their hand and said, "I love you."
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
It's that's one of the reasons that I had a lot of success in my previous sales career, is because I did focus in on that. So I built out this step, which one of them is social media, and everybody, they're not excited about that. But again, it's not necessarily like pitching. It's just, you're telling your story, your story. And I think it was Grant Cardone, whether you love him or hate him, he always has some good nuggets that come out, and he talks about your story will absolutely connect with somebody. It doesn't matter if you've never had to work a day in your life, that will connect with somebody. But if you've been grown up on the streets and had extreme adversity growing up, you're going to connect with so many people. But it's just about telling your story and connecting with those individuals, and that draws them in to then have a real authentic conversation and get rid of the small talk, or like, "Hey, why are you calling me? What's your pitch?" All that kind of stuff. We can move that aside and just start having real conversations. And if by chance my service is something that can be useful for you, I'm happy to work with you on that. But I know 90% of the time, my company isn't going to be able to solve the problem that they have, but hopefully I've built a network strong enough that I can now refer them to somebody that can help them. And then again, continue to build that relationship in the long haul. So it's, if you're not utilizing LinkedIn or just social media in general at this point, you better get on it.
And so I have to say, Ajo, so changing people's lives is how you make a difference on impact. And then everyone has challenges, and I'm sure they'll relate to your story, Mitch. Absolutely. And they are relating. So tell me, what would be your words of wisdom to an entrepreneur right now? Maybe brand new in the journey. Let's just say that.
I have thought so many times over and over again, but I would say as an entrepreneur, you're taken in so many different directions, especially when you're first starting, because you're literally doing everything yourself. What my advisory board has told me over and over again is get back to what you know and focus on that, and have that the one thing that you are focusing and going after. You set aside time to get the other things done, but focus so much on what it is that you have to get done to reach the goals that you've set in place, and measure that. I think my biggest hurdle or biggest failure so far was that I didn't measure. I thought I was doing those things. And then when you look back, you're like, oh, I haven't done anything. But there's a book, I'm totally going to blank the name on it, 4 Pillars of Execution, I think is what it's called. And it essentially puts a game plan on what goal you are trying to make and breaks it down to a daily or a weekly individual task perspective that you need to achieve, and then you measure it. And then you can tell, did I hit my goal this day, this week? And if I didn't, then you are not staying focused on what you need to do. So I would say for anybody getting started in the grind and the hustle of a startup or any entrepreneurship drive, staying focused on what you need to get done and will further your business is going to do you a lot of good, as I spent a year thinking I was doing that and not actually doing it, and a year of doing it and seeing the growth that we have had. So staying focused on that one thing.
Love it. All right. So Mitch, tell everybody where they can get a hold of you if they are interested in this amazing, business concept and create an experience with, more than a meal. So can you share your contact information?
Yes, absolutely. Well, you can go to our website and just kind of browse around there at morethan-a-mealco.com. But what I would recommend is find me on LinkedIn. Just Mitch Case, you'll find me. I've got a blue background with a suit on. It's not really a suit. It's got some basketball stuff underneath it too, but I digress on that. Come and find me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on that. I'd love for you to just kind of hear our story and who we are as a company and me as an individual. And anybody that reaches out and asks for time, I am always willing to give time to those individuals that I can tell are genuinely interested in seeing if there's something that I can do to help, or vice versa. So I would say there, I'm always happy to receive emails. You can email me at mitchc@morethan-a-mealco.com as well. I will say that I'm falling behind on emails right now. So if it's LinkedIn, you have a much better chance of reaching me quicker.
All right. So will you come back again? I would love to see your progress and see how things are coming along.
Of course.
Absolutely.
That's going to give me that drive now, because next time I come back, I got to have some better news.
Absolutely. We got to show progress. And I know that you will. And, I really appreciate you taking the 30 minutes tonight, having family and having to juggle all of this. I really do appreciate you sharing your story and helping other small business owners out there. And anybody out there who wants to be a guest and share your story to help others, as well as elevate your authority in your industry and share how you're changing people's lives, please go ahead and just DM me here on, Facebook or LinkedIn. Let me know what I can do for you. I can be reached, obviously, at 8simplesteps.net. And I would love to connect if you need me for anything else. So go to my information and see what we can do with moving you forward. And we are ready to wrap this up. And so I want to say good night and thank you again, Mitch. I so appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Maureen. I really appreciate you giving me the time as well.
Good night, everybody.
Night.